guys, it's Kristen and Bethany, and today we're going to be talking about overcoming the comparison trap. We actually chose the topic today because one of you specifically sent in a request and said, hey, can you make a video on comparison? I'm really struggling with this. And so we're guessing a lot of you are probably struggling. We've struggled with this. We still wrestle with this. So we're excited to make this video specifically because one of you asked for it.
Comparison is something that I have dealt with and continue to deal with. When I saw the request come in for this topic, I started thinking like back, years ago, like, oh, when I was in high school. And then I was thinking like, even today, I deal with this. But there was one time specifically that really stands out because it was like such an obvious time where I was comparing and I was very discontent because of it. So years and years ago, my very first car that I drove for like 10 years, the car was from the 80s. It was as old as me. And I was so embarrassed by the car. And I was horrified about what other people thought of me. But specifically because I remember getting that car. And even though it was a great car, it was functioning, it was old, but it worked well. I remember looking around at my friends, looking around at the other people my age and seeing like, none of them are driving cars like this. They all have newer cars, even though they weren't like super nice, but I'm like, they all have different cars than me. And I started comparing and I started looking and comparing more and more. And every day that I would get in my car and then compare to the people around me, I just grew more discontent, more like just kind of self-obsessed with myself and what I was driving and what people were thinking about me when they probably weren't thinking anything. But for years, I'm serious, I would park far away. I didn't want anyone to see me. I didn't want anyone to know I drove that car. And it took a long time for for me to trust in God and just for him to open my eyes to the fact that it really doesn't matter what people think. It's okay. It's a car. Like, it gets you from A to B. It's not a big deal. And once I was able to kind of release that and say, okay, God, I just give this to you. It really doesn't matter. Only what you think of me matters. And you don't care about this like other people care. You're not like, oh, well, she's less valuable because she drives that. I have a great car. And so I was so much more content, so much more satisfied, so much more joyful when I was able to just give that up and drive the car and not worry about comparing myself to others. And I found so much freedom once I did that. And so I hope that today, whatever it is, may not be a car for you, it may be something else, but I hope you can get to that point as well because it is so much better when we can just give the comparison up.
Giving into comparison is something I definitely wrestle with too, and I had a car struggle too for a while because I had a car that was really old and it would break down a lot. I was right there with you, but I love what you were sharing about your car didn't change, but your heart changed. And when your heart changed, you could drive the same old car and be content. And so that's a huge key. But I know for me, it is so hard, this comparison game. And I think with social media and the online world where we have the world at our fingertips. We can see every celebrity, every friend, every vacation, every new makeup product, like everything everyone else has, like more than ever before. We have this front row view into their lives. And so the opportunity for comparison is endless. I mean, we could endlessly compare our homes and our cars and our makeup and our shoes and so many things that I think in the past it would have been harder to even see, like what all that your neighbor has. And so the comparison game, this challenge, this heart struggle, I think is at an all-time high. And so many of us are giving in because of technology, because of the sin in our hearts, because of our ingratitude, our ungratefulness, whatever it is that's going on the inside. And technology isn't making that any easier. But the more that we give in and we look around and say, oh, look at their cars. Look at that girl's grades. Look at her. Look how good she is. Look how talented she is at sports. Her hair, her makeup, her skin, her features. I mean, on and on it goes. And when we go down the path of comparison, it really never ends. One of our good friends and fellow author and blogger puts it this way. She says, the comparison trap has been carefully set by our enemy. He knows that comparing ourselves with others leads to feelings of discouragement, inadequacy, and jealousy. He knows that if he can turn our focus toward those around us, he can easily distract us from the standards of God. One of the most powerful weapons in his arsenal is the sense that we are alone in these feelings, that we are the only one reacting this way, that no one else feels like this, and they just can't seem to measure up. Let's face that lie right here together, she says. Our need to compare wasn't born in the 21st century, and I love that. It isn't simply a result of media that pushes a version of beauty that's impossible to obtain. The enemy has been setting this trap since the beginning of time. So there's really so much more going on here that the enemy, Satan, knows that if he can get us to compare and tempt us with things that are outside of ourselves, that will only be content if we have something, then he knows that we're going to be distracted. We're not going to be focusing on God. We're not going to be living for God's glory. We're going to be like this, so self-consumed and so discontent. And she went on to say
that God is our standard. He is our creator, and his affirmation of our value is worth more than riches untold. When we seek the applause of man instead of God, we focus on the wrong standard and settle for a cheap substitute. She really hit the nail on the head there at the end, saying that God is our creator and his affirmation of our value is worth more than riches untold. That's what happened to me with the car situation. And I know for you, saying, okay, like God's affirmation of me, how he values me, his worth placed upon me, that's all that matters. And when we can seek that instead of the applause of men, everything changes, and our contentment, our joy is drastically, like, we're drastically satisfied because we're looking to him and we're saying, you are my creator. You ultimately give me my worth, and it doesn't really matter in the end how cool my car is.
It's not dependent on our talents or the things we have.
Yeah, even though was a little sad when I would see you broken down. I did see her one time I was
laughing. It wasn't easy.
Like, is that my sister broken down in the car? That's hard, but it doesn't have to change our joy, and we don't have to compare. So I love that she says that we have to focus on Christ and not the cheap substitute. The verse that she referred to, she was kind of quoting it in there, but she was referring to Galatians 1:10. I want you to write this down.
This is good.
This is convicting, and it has the questions that we need to ask ourselves. It says, for am I now seeking the approval of man or of God? Or am I trying to please man? If I were still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ. And so I want you to just think for yourself in those moments when you are comparing, ask yourself, am I seeking the approval of man in this decision to compare? Or am I seeking the approval of God? Because if we really put that question in that little scenario in those times when we compare, it would drastically change it. So I want you to ask yourself this question. If you are struggling right now with comparison, or tomorrow or the next day you're on social media, you're at school, wherever it is, ask yourself, in this moment, am I seeking the approval of man or am I seeking the approval of God? And let that inform your thinking and let that alter the circumstance. Because if you change and you say, no, I reject this, I am not going to seek the approval of man, I'm instead going to seek the approval of God, you will find peace and contentment in that situation, even if it never changes. Thanks so much for watching today's video. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up. If you want to see more from us, you can subscribe to our channel below because we post new videos every Wednesday. And if you want to keep up with us on a more regular basis, head on over to our blog, girldefined.com. Like, that was way too long.
I know, and
you just kept
going.
That
was my conclusion to go into the quote.
I was so distracted because the dog, it throws me off majorly. Like,
yes, just they're gonna hear like small barks in the background. It's like, oh no,
and George. Then I realized it, and I was like, oh.
Because I was trying to do like a bum bum bum. If you're sitting here right now and you're like, I love the Girl Defined channel, I am so grateful for what they're doing, then we want to invite you to come link arms with us and partner with us in a deeper way by actually supporting our channel financially by giving literally like $1 or $2 per video that we make. And by joining our team in that way, you will enable us to continue making more videos that can be helpful for you. So if you want to join us, we would be so grateful. And you can do that by clicking the link below to patreon.com/girldefined.